Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Dave Schofield, Steel Curtain Network editor. It's after 9 o'clock. It's what we do. With me as always, except when he's not, Big Bro Rich. Rich, how's it going?
You know, Dave, here we are.
Here we are.
Nothing to breathe.
Nothing breathe. You know what? We need to bring it better than this. We do. We really do. You know what? Sometimes you just need a reset. So hold on. Steeler fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night. It's a little bit after 9. Where else would you rather be as a Steelers fan? And with me as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich. Big Bro Scho, how's it going tonight?
You know, it's not going too bad. I was hoping to still get to breathe in tonight, but I can't breathe in because my breathing in would have been dependent on some poor performance from the rest of the AFC North.
Exactly. So, hey, sorry about that to start. Sometimes you just need a do-over. That's what you really do. And since today is National Mulligan Day, I figured let's take the mulligan and let's start it all over. So here we go. Let's get this show on the road. Are you ready? Pretty bad bit right there, Rich.
Well, you know, I'm not surprised you wanted to take a mulligan. You have been known to take more than your fair share.
Oh, I definitely have. But you know what? In recent years, I've done much better. I've actually played rounds of golf. I might have taken maybe 2 mulligans this summer, and that's it. Might have been 3. I've changed a lot. That's what happens when you get more confident with your game.
I don't get to play a ton of golf, but when I'm playing golf, I am playing with Kyle usually. And because Kyle then it was, practicing for high school stuff, there were no mulligans.
There are no mulligans. There are no give yourself a better lie. There are no Nike wedges. But no, we took a mulligan to start there in celebration of National Mulligan Day. And for those of you that don't know what a mulligan is, go look it up about golf. All right, so here we go.
It's called Google.
Yeah, it's called Google. You know, sometimes it's so funny when I read Bob Labriola's Asked and Answered column. That's one I've enjoyed for years, since way before I started doing what I'm doing now. And so many times I'm just like, do people not know how to type into Google, only how to type in the response, how to ask a question? Because these things are something that would take 30 seconds to figure out. Why are they bothering him? But anyway, that's just how it goes sometimes. And that's why I can appreciate the great questions I get during the offseason for the Steelers Stat Geek podcast. I'm not getting stuff that people can just find really easy. I know, because then I have to spend hours trying to get an answer. So that's why I can, my nerds of steel, they come through big time in that regard. But yeah. Speaking of, I don't know why we're talking about Google. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're back on schedule. As of today, they are back on a regular schedule because it was a Players' Day off, Tomlin Tuesday, everything kicks in tomorrow. It wasn't the typical Monday because the Steelers had a bonus practice after not playing. So now we're back into the regular routine of a week of NFL football. So Coach Tomlin spoke. It's kind of funny. He even brought it up that not only does he get asked the same questions week after week, he was literally asked the same question at least twice, if not 3 times in this press conference about Kenny Pickett and, what could he do to improve? Well, first of all, he said, why would I tell you all this? It doesn't do me any good to tell the other team what we're working on. And then they asked him the question again at the end. It was kind of funny. But
I don't often watch the Tomlin news conference, and I did today. So,
yeah. Yeah. So
I didn't read your story. Yeah.
Listen to the podcast. Well, you would have heard that it was very. I don't know if it would be Mr. Rogersy or Electric Company or probably Pee Wee's Playhouse. But we had a word of the day. What was the word of the day that you kept hearing from Mike Tomlin's press conference?
Hold on, because it was he kept saying oh, rats.
It was behoove.
There you go.
Behoove. He busted 5 behooves during the press conference. So that was it. Wouldn't behoove us to tell the other team exactly what we're doing. But see, Afton got it. She knew what it was. Whether
I kept thinking about it while I was listening to it, and then I just blanked sitting here.
Yeah,
I failed.
So
failed the quiz.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting information going on right now. There was a cryptic tweet from one Desmond King from the Steelers about, let me see if I can see exactly what it was. It was about on to the next thing. Some people were like, oh, did they cut him? Did they do it? Okay, let me get back to exactly what it was. I have a screenshot that I lost, so now I'm trying to find it.
On to the next.
On to the next. Welp, on to the next. And, some people were even saying, oh, is he talking about the next game or whatever? But then just before we started the show, Tom, is it Pelissero or Pelissero? I always say Pelissero.
I always say Pelissero. So
I don't know which one it really is because it's funny. They're like, well, what do they say on TV? I usually don't listen to them talk. I just read stuff. It says the Steelers informed veteran cornerback Desmond King they plan to release him if they can't find a trade partner per source. He played 1 snap on defense, and they ran for a touchdown on his side. Was that on him or not? I didn't necessarily think that was Desmond King should have been there to make that play. But you know what? Maybe the Steelers did. But that's right. This is the other thing. In a related move, Pittsburgh is expected to sign rookie cornerback Darius Rush off the Chiefs practice squad per source.
Okay.
So there you go. So I don't know if anybody's on that there at steelcurtainnetwork.com. So maybe I should make sure that those things are out there and knowing a little bit that's what's happening because this is all kind of going down right before. I mean that was literally as I was setting up the show. So
and nothing like then sitting here you saying maybe if nobody's on that, so you throw it to the breaking news channel. Thanks.
I throw it into the breaking news channel. That's what I got to do.
Sitting here, my phone is like what? Oh, look, it's Dave working while he's working.
Yes, of course. Doing what I can. Hey, look, it's us. Making sure I'm getting all the up to date information. Whew. So, Rich. Let's talk about some stuff before we get into the topic of our show, the main topic. The Steelers looking to be a little bit more healthy right now. They got Anthony McFarland and Deontay Johnson back at practice on Monday. Then they've got players that missed the game leading up to the bye, all expected to practice tomorrow. The Steelers don't have to activate either McFarland or Johnson. They have 21 days to do so, or else they go the route of 2022 Calvin Austin. Then, to me, I've already said, when McFarland comes back, it's going to be the player that the Steelers signed off of Atlanta's practice squad that's probably going to get cut. And when Deontay Johnson comes back, it's going to be, is it Gunner or is it Rodney Williams? Your thoughts on that one? Those are the two most likely candidates.
I vote Gunner.
Oh, we love Hot Rod, don't we? Man, that dude, yes. We've talked about it before. He's just so good on special teams. Someone's going to grab him. You're not getting him back to the practice squad. So, yeah.
We'll
see
not
what
getting
happens.
him back to the practice squad, and Gunner fumbles.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 4 touches on the season. He's got 2 fumbles. And catching toe tapping it to go going out of bounds.
That's a 50% fumble rate for those.
So remember, he's been a healthy scratch twice and an unhealthy scratch once. He's only played in 2 games. He's only been active 2 games. And he has 2 fumbles and a boneheaded catch
And
going.
boneheaded play.
Yeah. Well, apparently, to me, the whole thing of Desmond King also shouts that Anthony McFarland's going to be fine and back, because there's your kick returner. Because they're like, oh, is it King? Is it Gunner? Is it, if McFarland's back, is it Calvin Austin? McFarland had that job and didn't well week 1 and then was hurt.
Yes.
So one of the few things that actually wasn't so bad for the Steelers in week 1. So really hoping that we still have some Hot Rod Williams. If the Steelers aren't going to, however they use, even if they don't have him active, right? Seriously, even if they keep him inactive, keep him on the 53. Don't lose him. I would like him to be active because he is a good special teams player. Anyway, so that's some of the moves that we have coming there in regards with the Steelers. Just to remind everyone, you will not see Deontay Johnson or Anthony McFarland on the injury report when that comes out tomorrow, because they're not on the 53-man roster. So it is what it is. Okay. So, all right. You ready? You want to talk about anything else going on with the Steelers? We're ready to dive into our topic.
When are you going to ask me the important question?
Oh, did Sunday? Why when you were in the woods? Any luck? I didn't get the text of down goes Frazier, so I thought I just assumed that it wasn't that great of a day.
He made an appearance.
He made an appearance,
walking straight at me.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, just come in and turn. He comes in, he turns behind a trio of trees to where I can see about 4 inches of his nose and about, 10 to 12 inches of his hind end. And that's what I got to stare at broadside. He then hopped out from behind those trees. I just needed him to stop. Wouldn't stop. When he did stop, he's now basically facing dead away from me. I'm like, you're kidding. And then off down the hill, chasing some does, he goes. Frustrating time, but a good time. If there wasn't going to be Steeler football, I was glad I was out enjoying my time and watching the deer. So yeah, I didn't watch football on Sunday.
See, I would have had headphones in listening or something, or put it. But you have to hear what's going on.
I was gonna say, how can I hear the deer coming if I have headphones in? So
yeah, that's true. So
I did a little scoreboard watching.
Yeah, I watched a lot of football. Actually, you know the truth. I fell asleep during the middle portion of the early games.
Nice.
So, and I was really frustrated at the end of the day because I had on Red Zone. I was having to do some homework with my youngest child, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, they're starting to count down the touchdowns. That means all the games are over. No, it was there was only one game left, and they can't stay on it when it's only one game. And I didn't flip the channel, so I did not see the Jets come back and beat the Eagles, which knocked me out of the Survivor League. So I didn't even see it. I thought I went in to make a pick. I'm like, oh, can I pick it? Wait a second. The Eagles lost.
All right. So before we get into our topic as well, I got to get into one other thing since I saw, over in our live chat. So
yes.
We often acknowledge when our sister who falls between the two of us is in the live chat.
Yep.
We'll make note that the older sister to both of us was in the live chat there earlier tonight. Probably here to poke fun.
There you go.
She should be.
She's there.
If I were her, I'd be here to poke fun. But
yep. So we're both little bros to her, but when it comes to each other, I'm the little bro, you're the big bro, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, you're not a big bro to anybody.
I'm not a big bro to anybody. I'm the baby. Can't help it. It is what it is, and I just have to embrace it. Speaking of embracing it, the Pittsburgh Steelers should really embrace these improvements that they need to make for the rest of the season.
Well, I hope they do.
Yeah. What a transition I pulled off there.
It was not you're giving yourself a little too much credit. That was not a great transition, but it was
Adequate.
it was adequate transition. It was
Yeah.
not cringe worthy. So you get a little bit of okay, you transitioned us.
Yeah. But before we go on, I will say one thing. If you want a breakdown of all the games that went on Sunday, check out the FFSN NFL channel, and it's the FFSN NFL show with our own Jeff Hartman and Rob Stats Guerrero. Well, they break down every Sunday game. It's really entertaining. We don't need to talk about those games because it
is my Monday morning go-to.
Yeah,
now. It really is. That's one I go and look for. And it's like, oh, got to see what they got to say because I really like their breakdown and their take on the games. So,
yep, I know what you mean. I also try to hit up because it's not as long on Breakfast with Ben's part of the FFSN network podcast network where he has his Madden Monday. So and check out. There was a lot of hockey talk there, so that was pretty good too. If you're a Pens fan. All right, what we're going to talk about is the Steelers generally when they, you're coming out of the bye and that's where you can see some changes being made. We even saw it a little bit in 2019 when it wasn't Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger when he was injured. And, how were they going to roll out of the bye? They come out and they're down. That was when the Dolphins hadn't won a game and they go down 14 points. Then the Steelers come back and win that one. And various things there. Last year, we know coming out of the bye, the Steelers went 1-1, and then they finished up 6-1 the rest of the way. So you could see we're kind of getting spoiled that the bye has created some sort of turning point where things that were bad suddenly get better. It's nice to see it, but it's also kind of dangerous to expect it when the bye happens so early. When the bye happened in week 6. But regardless, we're going to talk about 5 things that the Steelers really need to improve coming out of the bye. We each came up with our list of 5. We're going to roll through Big Bro's list. And if he has something on his list that I have that is similar, we're going to bring it up then. Because we could be very general. We could be very specific with exactly what we're going to here. It was kind of a little bit off the cuff, what came to our head, jot down 5 things. All right, you got 5 things, let's roll. So we don't know what either one of us had. So we're going to go into this. We're going to do this. Then we'll talk some about the Rams game coming up and hit our big question at the end. So you ready to dive into this, Rich?
Let's go.
All right, I got my 5 things. This is the last thing I have in this notebook, which is 2 years old before I used the last page today for Tomlin Tuesday. So I got to roll into a new one. So, hopefully I can read where I squeeze this in here a little bit. All right. What do you got? These are not in any particular order. Any order you want to bring them up. I kind of went back and forth with mine, so it wasn't all on the same subject as we went. So what do you want to start with first?
Okay. I'm going to start with more consistent offensive line play.
More consistent offensive line play.
Yes.
Gotcha. I have that as kind of a subset of one of mine. That's a much bigger, broader thing. Okay. Although I do talk about consistent with something else later on.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and bring mine up then too. Because I think with more consistent offensive line play, it will lead to this one that I had. The Steelers must be better at sustaining drives.
Yeah.
And yours kind of leads. Yeah. Those two, in my opinion, are connected.
Yes, they are. I would say they are connected in some way because a little more consistent play in the O-line will help keep the Steelers more in front of the chains, which when the Steelers play more in front of the chains, they sustain drives. So,
yeah, exactly. Like I was going, I had initially an offensive line thing. I was going to say getting more push in the run game, and I'm like, well, more push in the run game. Everything, I was going to say being more physical from the opening whistle, with the Steelers, like coming
Okay.
out when your first drive and
Yeah.
being more physical to start the game. That was another thing I considered. And I said, you know what? I can kind of sum up all those things by saying sustain your drives. I talked about that on last week's Stat Geek about how the Steelers, you know, they're getting. Last year, they didn't. The big complaint was they don't have splash plays. They don't have splash plays. They don't score from outside the red zone. Only 2 touchdowns outside the red zone. This year, they've only got 5 offensive touchdowns, and 3 of them are longer than any touchdown they had last year.
Yeah.
But they didn't add splash. They replaced it with splash, and then aren't doing anything else. They need the splash plays on top of an adequate offense that's sustaining drives. So. And I do think a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. I have another thing that'll help with that some too, but we'll see if we get into that topic later. Anything else you want to say about that?
Nope.
Are you ready to roll? All right.
I'll keep going. All right.
Then let's roll.
I'm going to say this one, and then I'm going to explain a little bit, okay? Improvement in the secondary. That is both with play, and it could potentially do with scheme.
You know what I said?
Everything's not always meshing in that secondary right now, and we need a better mesh in the secondary.
Yes. What I said, I used your word from the first one. I said I'll use that word somewhere else, and this was it. Consistency in the secondary.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, there are times when both Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson make great plays. And there are times when they do not. And I don't care if that consistency
do not. There's times where they make very bad plays.
Yes. And I don't know if that consistency, kind of like what you're saying, if that comes through scheme, through personnel, or improved play. Any and all of those 3 are kind of what's needed with the Steelers secondary right now.
Like I said, it's just not quite lining up and meshing quite right. And it needs to be better. Clean it up. So,
yeah. I agree. And like I said, would I like to see Joey Porter Jr. playing more, even as the quote unquote starter? I would. And I think he'll get there. And my thing is, if we have another repeat performance of Baltimore, meaning where the other 2 corners aren't getting it done, Joey Porter when he's out there, he is getting it done. That's when it gets to a point of, all right, come on. Really, what's going on? Now, what a lot of people are saying is that, you know, the Steelers are playing a lot of zone or too much zone, and Joey Porter's more in man. I know last year the Steelers played more man than when I haven't seen the numbers yet for this year because I'm not one who dissects the secondary a ton. I know when I see soft zone and they're just giving up stuff in front of them. So we'll kind of see what the Steelers want to do. And some people, I saw some discussion going on in the live chat about the player that I already lost the name, that the Steelers were reportedly signing off Kansas City's practice squad. What are they doing that for? He's more of a man guy. Well, maybe in order to play Joey Porter Jr. more, they're needing to go more man. That's not the strength of Patrick Peterson at this point of his career. We'll just have to see what the Steelers really have in mind. So we'll see. But either way, whether they change up who they're playing or not, it's just it's got to be more consistent, in my opinion.
Yes, it does.
Yep. So all right, 2 down. Let's go ahead and knock out one more before we take a break.
Okay, sounds good. All right, my next one: Kenny Pickett's accuracy.
I got a Kenny Pickett one, but it wasn't his accuracy. I already feel like his accuracy's really improved. It was not good the first few games, but I feel it was much better.
It was much better. It was much better in the last game. Okay, it still wasn't where I felt he was towards the late stages of last year. So it has to continue to improve.
Yeah.
Or that offense, that sustaining drive thing that you brought up at the beginning doesn't happen.
Yep. You ready? Here we go.
Oh, you're going to give one as well?
because I had another one that was Kenny Pickett.
Okay, sounds good.
And I think this one will help with what you say. You got to reduce Kenny Pickett's happy feet. He's breaking the pocket too early. He sometimes gets jumpy and jittery in there. If he can calm down in the pocket, I think he's going to be more accurate. I think he's going to make better decisions. But a lot of that goes right back to your offensive line, because I think there's some trust issues there.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you. I was saying this some last year, and people were giving me a hard time and everything, because so many people were saying, oh, yeah, Kenny Pickett shook, the last time the Steelers played the Ravens, the end of last year. Oh, he shook off the pressure that came right away and then connected with Najee Harris. No, people didn't want to admit it. And now we've seen it over and over again this year. That was Kenny Pickett bailing on the pocket when he shouldn't have.
He bailed early, and he bailed the same way that's getting frustrated now.
He bailed out right where they're getting blocked in.
No, the more frustrating is that he bails out turning his back to the defense. He does that total spin out thing, and it's like, why are you spinning? You could just, there's really not that much pressure. Just run there.
Well, and he think about it. The edge rushers are coming on the arc. What is an offensive tackle going to do? All you got to do is make the arc go too wide. That's what I was always trained to do when I played. That's what I would teach and coach when I was coaching. If they're going to go too wide. I remember when we were in a playoff game with the varsity. We had a really good edge rusher, and he just let him take him out. Take him. He just kept taking the arc too wide all night. We're like, you've got to stop doing that, because you're just giving them the play. Their whole philosophy with you isn't to try to stop you. All they want to do is get you off your line by a yard and a half, and you're done. You're out of the play. Yeah. You can't go that yard and a half out. He got mad, threw his helmet, and stormed off. So, because he wanted to do it. This is what I do, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just not a good thing. But really, when the edge rusher's coming out wide, that's what you do as a tackle. Do you have to flat up stop the guy? No. But if you just force him wider than what he needs to be, and that's the thing with TJ Watt, and to me is what makes him so good, is that he doesn't let himself get ridden too wide. Because that's the one thing that you can do. And if that's what a tackle's going to do, all a quarterback has to do is step up into the pocket. TJ Watt's first sack in the last game, he got to Lamar, because what does Lamar do? He steps way up in the pocket, and in fact, so much so he can take off the run. TJ's first sack of him, he couldn't take off up into the pocket because they sent Keanu Neal on a blitz. He didn't allow Jackson to step up. TJ Watt was right there. Boom. He had the right line. So to me, that was one of those things that we saw it last year, and people didn't want to admit it. Oh, no, Dan Moore just made a terrible. No, he didn't. He was doing you wanted, if that guy's going to go that wide, take him wide. The quarterback's got to be smart enough to step up in front of your block. And Kenny tried to bail out wide, and he's continued to do that a bunch.
Right. When your job as a left tackle is to know where or a right tackle, defending the edge rush, your job is to know where that edge rusher, the point that he is trying to go to, and not let him go to that point.
Yeah.
Whether that be, you pancake him or push him wide, in the end, he's still not getting to that point where your quarterback is to be standing.
Yes. It's kind of like blocking a punt. You have a spot, a certain distance, right in front of the punter. That's the spot that you're trained to go for, because that's where the ball is going to be kicked from. If you're blocking for a punt, all you have to do is get that guy off that line, not let him go directly to that spot.
Right.
Make him go wide, make him go in. If he misses the spot, he's not going to block the punt. The same kind of deal with the quarterback. The difference with the quarterback is he can actually move. So there's nothing more frustrating to a blocker when you are blocking the defender in a certain way, and the offensive player goes into where you were blocking him. Oh,
Yep.
that's true. Whether it's a running back trying to run the ball, you're trying to, it's supposed to be an inside play and you're blocking out and they try to bounce it outside. Next thing you know, he's running right in the way, right where you're pushing the guy to. Very frustrating. Same thing can happen with quarterback. Sorry, I got off topic here with this, but it's still right back into it. Is that Kenny needs to have improved accuracy. He needs to have better pocket presence, all that thing. And which is so funny because wasn't that always the knock on Mason Rudolph by a lot of people? Oh, he's just too antsy in the pocket. I don't see that one is really any better than the other at this stage of their career. The thing is, Kenny Pickett is barely a season into it. So
and Kenny Pickett's just faster.
Yeah.
So you see him escape more often.
Yeah.
But the reaction's not that different.
Yes. Yeah. So, but he needs more comfort in the pocket, and that I think that'll help bring in a lot of stuff. But I think there's an answer to that. I think there's a pretty good, how do I say it? It's not fixing the problem. It's making it go away. Does that make if this makes sense? You could fix the problem, or you could just reduce the problem's impact. To me, I just summed up Matt Canada right there. If they're not fixing the problem, they're just trying to reduce his impact. But what I think will happen with Kenny with this, I think it's the return to Deontay Johnson. The dude just gets open.
I think that could help.
Knowing that he always knows what Deontay Johnson's going to do, and he's going to be open. That he knows that if he's got to throw it quick, just throw it to where Deontay is supposed to be. He's going to be open.
Yep.
That's a really good thing for a young quarterback. So, all right. So we've got 3 of the 5, and so far we've kind of been able to build off each other. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, come back, finish this up, get to some Rams talk, get to our big question. So if you're with us here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us on the audio side, stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, Steelers fans, we are back. If you were with us on the audio side, I'm sure you can now hear about losing credit card rewards or about clean hydrogen, because I think that's every ad that we have in every podcast that seems to be playing through right now. So, hey, at least we didn't take another mulligan, right? So, knowing me, you say I take more than one. I guess I could have tried it again, but let's get back into this. 5 needed improvements. So far, we talked about more consistency with the offensive line, and I said that will help them sustain drives. You said improve play in the secondary. I said they need to be more consistent in the secondary. You said Kenny Pickett's accuracy. I said Kenny Pickett's. I said happy feet, but really his pocket presence and everything. Those are all things to work on. Rich, hit us with another one.
All right. Going to go with a movie line here.
Okay.
See if you. I'm sure you potentially be able to guess the movie. Bert, run the dang ball. You know the movie?
Is that The Longest Yard?
Nope, it's The Blind Side.
Huh?
That's The Blind Side.
Oh, I haven't watched that movie in a long time.
That's The Blind
Side. You want to know why?
Run the dang ball.
And it has nothing to do with the stuff going on now that his career's over, and where there's some legal battles going on there. I haven't watched that movie for forever because he went to the Ravens. Honestly, it's just really? I'm sorry. It makes that much more difficult to watch, knowing that ultimately you're cheering for someone who wore purple. Ew. But you are right. So you say run the ball.
Run the ball. We got to run the ball. Got to run the ball.
Yes. I have 2 things that were similar to that. One we already talked about: sustained drives.
Yep.
If you run the ball, you can sustain drives.
Yes. And
the Steelers have just not run the ball much or well in the first quarter this year. They just haven't. It's just that's been how it is. But I've got something that's going to help them run the ball. I'm going to throw in mine then to piggyback off yours. Stop telegraphing your plays. I think if you do that, you can run the ball so much better. There's so much criticism of the offensive line and the run blocking. But my goodness, they come out in formations and everything where they're not disguising that they're running the ball. And there's just more people there to block than what you have blockers.
I love
the numbers don't work.
I love that the Steelers, when they line up under center, 98% of the time it's a run.
Yeah.
And the other time when it's not a run, it's not anything really designed to take advantage of the fact they think you're going to run.
That you're exactly right. I mean, if it's not going to be a run, take it. You're right. Take advantage of the fact that they think you're running.
That they're selling out on the run, but we don't even do that.
Yeah. Why are the Steelers more successful running out of shotgun? I know some people are like, I can't say I've run out of shotgun. They've been so much more successful running out of shotgun. Why?
Because they don't know if they're going to run or they're going to pass.
So you're just one guy difference being in the area is sometimes all that matters to really be able to block it right. So you line up in a formation that takes that one guy out and then you run it and fans are like, oh, why are we running out of shotgun? They're doing better running out of shotgun because you're not.
We won't pass it when we're under center. That's
So when you go under center, you know what's coming and you're like, whether it's going to hand off to the running back or a jet sweep or something like that, you just come flying in. And I am so sick of the idea of, well, you have to run the ball well for play action to be effective. Wrong. Does it help? Absolutely.
Absolutely. But if
the team's still out against the run, it doesn't matter if you're doing it well or not.
Right. Exactly. If they are selling out to the run, and Sherry Richards brought up a great thing, because sorry, it moved on me. There you go. How about a play action pass to tight end down the seam? I agree, Sherry. Been waiting for it.
Yeah.
Been waiting for it all season. And that would be a great play to run from under center.
Yeah. It does not matter.
The play action, when teams are selling out on the Steelers run, you fake that handoff, all the inside linebackers are freezing, boom, tight end down the seam.
Yeah. And it does not matter if you're averaging 1 yard per rush or 11 yards per rush. If the team thinks you're running the ball and are sending the guys in there, we'll get to that in a second.
Wes, that's hilarious.
Then it's going to have the same effect. It doesn't matter what every other run has done before that one. Because if a team says we're going to do this to keep them from ever getting the run going, then you make them pay for doing it. Even if you haven't ran it successful, if you know that that's where they're going to come in and try to stop it, take advantage of it. You don't have to wait for a magic number. Oh, look, we just hit 4 yards per carry. Or a play action pass should work now. No, your play action pass isn't going to work if you line up in a formation that they think you're going to pass it. Sell the run, make the pass. Sell the pass, run the ball. When you start doing that, guess what? They can't sit on one or the other. They can't do it. When you come out in a formation where they know you're going to run the ball 92% of the time, guess what? They're going to play run.
But Dave, that's playing chess, and we all know that Matt Canada can't play chess.
Yeah.
Matt Canada can't even play Where's Waldo.
So yeah. I'm going to say this.
He only knows one game. Who killed Kenny?
Who killed Kenny? But you know what? I want Matt Canada to do a great job because that's what we have this season. And the only way the Steelers are going to have success is if he does a great job. Or, as I said before, they do everything they can to minimize his impact on the results. So it is what it is. But this is what they really do. Don't telegraph your plays. This should not be an issue. Okay. And then some people talk about, oh, well, this is the NFL. Everyone knows what you're going to do. Yeah, they know that this. No, they know what you could do. The thing is, if you come out with a certain personnel package and a certain formation, the more options of what teams think you could do out of that, the more that they have to be guessing things. As Rich disappears on me, which is interesting here. So you have that. So if you line up, if you have that personnel and you have that formation, and you only have, they're either going to dive up the middle or they're going to jet sweep. Guess what? You're having everyone that's towards the middle selling out on the middle, and everyone on the perimeters coming up to defend the jet sweep. It's what you do. If you start doing something else out of that, then guess what? They're going to have to be ready to do that. Make those corners back up because you're going to take a shot or something out of those things. So, yeah, hopefully we can see that. All right, I've gone off and on. Where'd you go?
I'm actually going to blame your kid. Somehow my power strip got unplugged.
Oh,
down here, so my computer just was like,
battery
dangerously low.
You saved
like,
it.
What?
You saved it. Yeah, it probably was one of my kids since they were there on Saturday.
I just found here, just so you know, I just found something laying. Snowball found around my house.
I know who that was.
Snowballs.
Those indoor snowballs. Those are fun though. Those really are.
Yeah.
All right, Rich, we're down to one.
Okay, well, this one of mine won't be much to talk about because my last one was better / less predictable offensive play calling.
Which kind of goes right into what everything we were talking about. I'm glad I went on a rant with it then.
So, yeah, you were very unpredictable. You made my last point very unpredictable in the fact we discussed it before I stated it. So,
yeah,
way to keep everybody guessing out there.
Woo!
So, nice job.
You ready for my last
offensive
one?
Coordinator?
Yeah, you ready for my last one?
Yes.
This is one I thought for sure you might say this one, and I understand maybe why you didn't because it's been getting better, but it's got to keep improving. That is, they've got to tackle better.
Oh,
I actually
thought about that.
Yeah,
thought about that. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's just a lot of that's 1-2. I mean, that's one of the problems with the secondaries. None of them are tackling very well. They all have a bunch of missed tackles and things like that. Not so much Minka, but yeah, it is what it is. So, anything else you want to say about all that?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. There you go. Afton also said this. Why that keeps kicking on me. There you go. They have to stop the dang run.
Well, the one you clicked on kind of said the same thing. Be more aggressive against the run. But also, I brought this up on Stat Geek last week. The Steelers have played 5 games. 3 of their 5 opponents are in the top 5 of the NFL in rushing. Now, you could say they were there because they played the Steelers, but now that you're 5 games in, and that's just 1 out of 5 or 6 games for these teams, that's not really as much. They won against some really good running teams. So now that was before last week. I should say that. I don't know if all 3 of them are still in the top 5 after last week, which is what it is. So, but that's what we want to see with some stuff with the Steelers coming out of there. So now they're going to be traveling to LA to take on the Rams.
Which, let's talk, since we're talking running game here for a little bit. I knew you were going to transition, and I am extremely, extremely afraid.
Okay.
Here's what I'm extremely, extremely afraid of.
I know what you're going to say.
That the Rams are down their top 2 running backs probably for this game. Mm-hmm. And this wouldn't it just be the Steeler thing to let some unknown dude run all over the defense?
Which is exactly what I was saying. That's what Rich is going to say. He's going to say, I don't, leave it to the Steelers defense. They'll have some no-name running back just bust out on them.
Yep.
If they're down their running backs. Yeah. But I don't know. the Steelers did a really nice job of shutting down the run the second half against the Ravens. But I don't know if that was scheme specific. It's really difficult to shut down the run against a team that has such a proficient passing attack. Why do you think Kansas City often will get their running back busting plays open? It's because you're focused so much on stopping the pass, the team then can then take advantage of that with whatever running back they put out there. And honestly, the Rams are, and with especially with head coach Sean McVay, they're kind of set up to be that way.
Yeah, they are. We'll see.
Yeah. So and of course, I'd never feel good about the matchup after listening to Coach Tomlin's press conference because he outlines how every team sounds like the '85 Bears. That's Jeff's quote. He said that before. They outline about how great everything is and all that other stuff. Steelers Nation Australia says, "Fire Steelers Nation Australia." You tell him, Marky D.
Done. Marky D, you're fired.
Yeah. Yes, Marky D. I miss me some Marky D.
I know.
So the Rams are 3-3. I watched them playing this. They were playing Arizona, right? Yeah, Arizona.
Yes.
It's not like Arizona is that great of a team. I think we all know that. I mean, they were missing James Conner, which was big for them.
That was big for them.
But the Rams never really pulled away or took control of that game. Honestly, the thing that they had going for them the best was when they started running the ball well in the second half. So, yeah, Cooper Kupp got his however many, I don't know. I've had him on my goodness. I had Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team. That's why I'm at the very bottom. That's what happens when you auto draft, right? So I mean, he had his bunches of catches and everything else, but it's going to be interesting. We've got a super chat here. We got to bring it up here. There you go. Kyle Smith, $5 in the tip jar. I didn't read this ahead of time, so I hope it's okay. So if Tomlin continues to bench JPJ and Broderick Jones, can he be sued for malpractice? I'm kidding, but frustrated. Yeah. Let's talk about the Broderick Jones thing real quick, because that was something that was brought up today, since it was a super chat. Coach Tomlin, they're like, oh, if Dan Moore's ready, will he go back in as the starter? And Coach Tomlin basically said, that's a big if.
Right.
I talked about it. Yeah. I talked about it.
Why would Coach Tomlin even say anything about that now? They've got a week of practice to figure that out.
Yeah. And I said about this on the press conference recap podcast is I'm like, how effective a player is being able to put them back in the lineup depends a lot on the player and the replacement. I used the example of Zach Banner and Devin Bush both coming off the knee injuries. The Steelers played Devin Bush because even if he wasn't 100%, he was still an 80% Devin Bush was still better than anything they had on the roster, which just goes to show how sad their roster was at inside linebacker then. Yeah. But 80% Zach Banner was not good enough to even get him a helmet because you had better options.
Right.
I think, to me, Dan Moore Jr., there's even a question of whether he should go back in, which I agree in because, it was just one game for Jones, but he did a really nice job. And against the Ravens, like we talked about last week, is that if he's anything less than 100%, then that's the perfect excuse to give Jones another start. If you say, well, he was back and, he was good enough in a reserve role, giving him the quote unquote Miles Jack treatment. We refer to that when we were at the game last year against New Orleans. Remember, Miles Jack was banged up. He was active, but he did not see the field. He was, in case of emergency, break glass. If you don't have to use him, don't use him, let him rest. They could do the same kind of deal with Dan Moore this week. and say, you know what, he was back. He was good enough to be in a reserve role, but until he was back to, we were confident of him being full strength with that knee. We just thought it was best to give it a little bit more, could continue to get the workout and practice and everything. I'm doing my best, Mike Tomlin explanation. Give him a chance to work out in practice and in pregame and everything else, and continue to make those steps back to get more confidence in that knee. And and if it had to be called on because game circumstances dictated it, then so be it. But until we had to, we just roll with it.
No.
All right, go ahead.
One thing. And if we're not certain about Dan Moore being 100%, it doesn't behoove us to put him into the lineup when we have a perfectly capable backup. It
doesn't behoove us.
Exactly. You didn't get a behoove.
I didn't get a behoove. So I think we're going to see Broderick Jones this week, because I think by Coach Tom saying that's a big if. To me, that opened the door to say, hey, Moore could be back and Moore could be dressed, but it doesn't mean he's going back in. And when people, because the media is going to want to jump all over and make a story about it. He even made fun of him, saying, if you want a story, you can write that. I can't even remember what that was about today. But it was, but you could say, hey, we're still trying to work this out. We felt that although Dan Moore was healthy enough to get back in pads and do everything, that he wasn't necessarily 100%. And since we had the adequate guy, it behooved us to keep him out there. There, yeah. I got it there.
Get your behooved in there.
Got to get your behooved in there. So I wonder if anyone was having a behoove count for us today. Hope they didn't turn into a drinking game, because that would behoove us to be concerned about you. All right. So I think it's going to be Jones, just because I think they'll use that as an excuse. You're going to see Dan Moore on the injury report. They're going to call him limited. You're going to see him limited this week, just because. And all they're going to do is keep him out of a snap or two or something here and there, to work in Broderick Jones, and they'll call him limited with his knee.
Oh, very, very possible.
Yeah. Yep.
It's one of those where I'm not going to try to read any too much into things.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't behoove me to do that.
It doesn't behoove us to do that at this time. So that was that one. The other thing is Joey Porter Jr., he's going to get increased snaps. The question is, at what point do you take away the incremental approach and you just go all in? That's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
The increments will continue to rise.
Yeah,
I think we're looking more into a rotation thing, maybe game situation, not necessarily dime versus other stuff, but we think they're going to be throwing more. We want to do this. We're going to put Porter out there. We think they're going to be doing this. We're going to have him out there. I mean, look at the second half of the Ravens game. Sometimes he was out there with Peterson. Sometimes he was out there with Wallace. Was what it was. So, yep. All right. So that was that. Anything else from that super chat that I missed? I'm trying to remember. Thinking back to it. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you say about the malpractice. Yeah, that was pretty funny. All right. So, anything more you want to say about LA before we get into this big question?
No, just all of our Steeler fans out on the western part of the country, head to LA, fill that stadium. I need to see some terrible towels.
Yeah.
So
see the towels out there go. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that ends up there. I think you'll see there'll be a lot of gold in the stands, whether it's with black or with blue. We'll see.
Yep.
I think there'll be a lot of black. So, all right. Well, Rich, let's just go ahead and roll into it. It's interesting because to me, the Rams are more of a scary team than someone like the Ravens, because I think they have that potential where you could just come out and kick them in the teeth and really get them down, or they have that potential to come out and just blow your doors off. So it's kind of like the Steelers. You don't know what team you're going to get.
Which probably in the end means we'll have a heart attack game.
Yeah.
And it'll be decided in the last 4 minutes. So
I'll be honest with you. When it comes down, if it's a close game, I'm leaning toward the Steelers. They just find a way to pull it out. So
We have
I just don't
Boz.
want to blow out.
We have Boz. That's what,
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, yeah, that was someone had said something. It was a tweet that was out there. I think it was Brian Batko. It was about at the end of the 49ers game about here we go. It's oh, look at comparing Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett and finding a way to do what you have to do for your team at the end. He did that before the kick was made. And then my reply was, but Moody is no Boswell.
There you go.
And Bradco and people were like, exactly. Same kind of deal. Brock Purdy, even no Christian McCaffrey, no Deebo Samuel. He still got them down there for a 41-yard field goal to win the game. But his kicker didn't make it.
Which should be a gimme.
So to me, having Boz has been. I was asking like who was the biggest surprises. I did that article on Saturday, and then who were the biggest disappointments so far this season. That article was on Sunday, and one of the ones I listed as a possible. I said people could vote anyone. Here are just some suggestions. One of the biggest surprises I said after last year, Boswell, that he's perfect. I mean, his 57-yard field goal was the longest field goal he's had that wasn't to end the half. They felt confident with him in the middle of a quarter to go from 57 yards.
Yeah.
Knowing the field position they'd be giving the other team if he missed it. And he nailed it. So that's been – don't take him for granted, Steelers Nation. Don't take him for granted. All right, Rich, let's get to this game. What do you think is going to happen at 4:05 Sunday out in L.A.?
Oh, see, it's so tough because, Stat Geek, what's Mike Tomlin's record coming off the bye?
Oh, Mike Tomlin's record coming off the bye. I got it because I asked that last week. I'm pretty sure it's here. I got to find it with everything with my notebook. Oh, come on, because that's what happens when you're at the very end. Okay, here we go. Coming out of the bye, 12-4. Hold on with the 6-game winning streak.
All right. So 6-game winning streak, 12-4 coming out of the bye. You think, oh, go Steelers. Okay. Ready, Stat Geek? I know you don't have this one there ready to go. What's Steelers' record on the West Coast over the last, 10 years? Well,
it hasn't been very good. The only team they had beaten was the Chargers. So it's the right stadium, if you think about that, until they beat the Raiders earlier this season. Because remember, I said, hey, this being a new Steelers team going to a brand new venue in Las Vegas where they've never been, this is your chance to say, hey, we can win in the Pacific time zone. And they did that. So that's why, now granted that was prime time. That's what I'm going to say, shake that off. Let's see how they can do.
So all the time you want to get into all these numbers, in the end, it all means pretty much nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I don't know how to pick this game. 21-20 Rams.
21-20 Rams.
Yep.
That's what you go with.
I just don't totally trust the West Coast thing yet for the Steelers. So
I know what's going to happen. If I had to give a score right now, it would probably be something similar to yours. And by Thursday, I'll compile everything I need to for Stat Geek and convince myself somehow that the Steelers. But here's what's interesting.
You've got to understand, though, too, that right now
it's in the live chat for you all. You can start putting it in there.
Any real information from the Steelers in a week and a half almost.
Yeah.
So
I feel disconnected.
Yeah, exactly. Disconnected. Good way to put it. So it's like I reserve the right this week more than any other to potentially change my pick by the staff pick article later in the week. Because I'm going to have
disconnected from this team for too long.
I'm going to have more information from the Steelers. So actually, there you go. I should have gone with did he get it in there early on? Sorry, I'm starting to look to see if
I'm sure it'll be there. I snuck that in there. I kind of brought it in.
Thank you, Thomas. I should have gone with Thomas Riley.
Okay. I do want to say this because someone asked about this. Who were the 4 losses against? I don't know which teams, but I can't tell you which year. Tomlin's first year as a coach, 2007. Then they won 6 in a row coming out of the bye. Then they had 3 years in a row of losing coming out of the bye. Then they've just won 6 in a row again. I'm not into patterns that, because it's 6 in a row, it's going to switch the other way. Everything is different. But those years were 2014, 2015, and 2016 were the 3 years that they lost coming out of the bye. All right, so here we go. Let's get to these scores. I know there's a bunch of them here, and I don't want to get too far behind. Gabriel Golden says 26-20. That would be Steelers. For those of you that might be new to the show, if you don't put a team, we assume Steelers. Okay. Thomas Riley, he was the second one this time. 17-17. That's a tie. Okay. Steelers Pittsburgh agreed with you except for the winning team. They have 21-20, but that would be Steelers. Steel Dog, it disappeared. Steel Dog 88 says 23-21 Steelers. Afton says 24-17 Rams. Okay. Drunk Turkey Show says 2017 Steelers. BF Bud, 24-23 Steelers. Outside Steelers fan says good guys 27, Rams 20. He says give Kenny another game-winning drive. I think if the chances are they're going to get that if they're going to win this game. Pittsburgh Toddy says 21-20 Steelers. That's a common one we got here. Ruben Stone said 23-17 good guys. I meant to go back and see if we had anybody that said 17-10 against the Ravens. I wanted to check that, but ain't nobody got time for that. Gene Smith says Steelers 21-14. Gavin Anthony says 24-20 Rams. Jack, I'm not going to say that. 27-17 Steelers. After wants to, I have not looked at this. I know the Steelers were like about 3-point underdogs. I haven't looked at the over/under. Really, I just haven't. Thomas Potts says 17-10 Rams, going with last week's score, but the other way around. Mr. Woodside, 24-22 Rams. Wes has 24-21 Steelers. Defense gets the key play at the end. Oh, here we go. Jeremiah Yoder says 23-16 Steelers. Kevin Brokenborough says, once it comes up, 31-10 Steelers. Man, how excited would you be to see the Steelers put up 31 points? We're still waiting for that. Kyle Smith, 23-20 Steelers. A lot of people are making a big deal out of over half the league didn't score 20 points last week. Defense is up, scoring is down. If that's the way it's going to be, that's probably the reason why the Steelers are a team that's got a winning record. Okay. Andre, is it just Andre? I almost said Andre.
Sure.
Andre Cole, 34-17. That would be Steelers. Sherry Richardson says 29-24 Steelers. Carrie says 17-13 Steelers. Joe Mannix says we got a 6-6 tie. Tyler W., he stopped believing. 23-17 Rams. Steve Sipo says 24-20 Steelers. Eddie Powers, 23-16 Steelers. Okay. Israelite Acquiring Knowledge says 21-13 Rams. Chuck Ayers says 28-17 Rams. No One You Know says, 26-13 Rams. A lot more Rams here, especially after coming off the big one with the Steelers, coming out of the bye. A lot of people aren't believing it right now. Wait, we already got Andre Coleman, didn't we? Yeah. That was third. Steelers 34, Rams 14. Was that a correction? I can't remember. I don't have time.
You go on. I'll go back and look.
Nope. It's all right. We got it. Do we have any more scores? Lots of good discussion. You see another score? I think that's all for the scores.
Okay.
If we have any more that pop in there, we will let you know. Holy cow, that took a long time. I didn't realize how long we were going. Whoa, I thought we were starting early. I was wrong. This is going to be an interesting one because I'll be honest with you. You shouldn't look ahead. All right. Jay's upper teeth, 17-13 Pittsburgh. Okay. You shouldn't look ahead. But knowing this week of the schedule coming up, I don't like that the Jacksonville Jaguars play on Thursday. Because next week they play the Steelers. They're coming out of their mini bye. So that one is going to give me a little bit more pause with that. So, we'll see. Let's worry about this Rams game first. All I know is that Steelers haven't looked all that great at 1 o'clock. They really didn't look all that great against the Ravens until the end. Maybe being a 4:05 will help. find a happy medium between 1 o'clock and prime time. All right. So afternoon game, got to stick around, see some other football going on before the Steelers play. We'll see how that works out. Make sure you're checking out all our other podcasts. As I said before, we're back to our regular schedule, which means the game-specific shows are back, such as Last Minute Thoughts and the post-game show. That puts the Q&A back on Saturday, I do believe, this week. I don't think we're going to do it Sunday morning or anything like that, just because. And then the Steelers play on Sunday. So make sure you're checking all that out. And as I've said before, check out steelcurtnetwork.com. Just really trying to get things going there. So, Rich, what do you have here to close us out tonight?
Well, since we're getting a long time, I'll keep it short and sweet. This week, there will be no sitting in a tree waiting for the furry little deer to come by. There will be much sitting on my couch, sitting there with my gear on, ready for some Steeler football. Missed having that week off there. It just, you kind of get used to it. Then suddenly it's like, oh, take a break. No more breaks. Now it's going to be Steeler football from here through the end. We'll just start up 4:05 this Sunday. Can't wait.
Can't wait.